Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to hang out with you again for another Video Creators podcast episode. Every Tuesday, we just help you guys by digging deep into something around your YouTube channel, helping you grow it, grow your audience, and today earn money that will make that content sustainable long term. And we've got a great topic for you guys today, talking about untapped opportunities for how to make money on your YouTube channel. I have a friend of mine here, Mr. Michael Stelzner. Hey, Michael, how are you, man?
Hey, Tim. Great to be on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So Michael and I worked together to do a report for you guys on how creators are earning money on YouTube. Michael, can you fill us in a little bit behind why we did this and what prompted this research?
Yeah, it's called the Creator Monetization Report 2017, How Bloggers, Video Creators, and Podcasters Make Money. And the idea is I wanted to bring together the largest body of research on how creators, mostly video creators, are actually making money, because it seems to be this trend that we're hearing over and over again, which is there's so many people that are not making money or struggling to make money. So I wanted to get to the bottom of it. So I worked with you, Tim, and I worked with Darren Rouse, who's one of the leading guys in the blogging world, and Cliff Ravenscraft on the podcasting side to really craft what I thought was a really comprehensive study that ultimately was literally 4,300 creators that took this thing.
Yeah, and we got a lot of data to share with you guys here, because a lot of you, what was it, over 1,000 people from my community, I think, or something?
Yeah.
Took this?
2,600 video creators. A big chunk of those are from your community.
Awesome. So we're going to dig into the data that you guys provided, which I told you we would, and kind of give you guys some insights on how to best monetize your content. But before we do that, Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what you do at Social Media Examiner, and just kind of bring us up to speed with who you are.
Yeah. Well, I've done a lot of research studies. I've been doing an annual study called the Social Media Marketing Industry Report for 8 years, which covers the state of the social media world. I wrote a book called Writing White Papers, have a background in this kind of quantitative analysis. And Social Media Examiner is really just a big blog and podcast and conference for the social media marketing community and the creator community. So at a high level, we're just really all about providing high value free information for the world.
Yeah, so it's like it's not only learning YouTube, but it's also Facebook video, and it's also Snapchat and Instagram and Twitter, and do you guys do Pinterest, LinkedIn, like everything pretty much?
Yes, absolutely, all those things.
All there. Yeah. So, and he also has an event at the end. We're going to talk with you guys about that too, because that's going to be really helpful and valuable for you guys too, which is something I've been a part of for the past few years and really think it's valuable for you guys. But let's jump into this report here, Michael. So we studied 4,335 creators, 2,800 of them bloggers, 2,600 of them video creators, hundreds of podcasters, all people who are creating content to grow an audience, and these people are finding ways to monetize that audience. What was like the main goal of this? Was just to like figure out how are people doing it and what can we learn from each other?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I was hoping to discover was whether or not, creators, that there's different kinds of creators, right? There's audio creators in the podcasting world, video creators in the YouTube world, and then of course you've got the written creators. And I wanted to kind of see whether or not they shared some of the same struggles, and maybe even what creators can learn from each other, because some of these industries have been around for a very, very long time. And there's a lot of new folks in the video world, but the blogging world, for example, is a very mature industry that's been around for a very long time. So the hope was just to understand what works, what doesn't work, whether people are satisfied with what they're doing, and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. So if you guys want to see this full report, if you're watching this video on YouTube, there's a link in the description here. You can go click over to socialmediaexaminer.com and find that. Or if you're listening to the audio version of this, there'll be a link in the show notes where you can go over and see the full report. It's got all the graphs, all the pretty analysis stuff that your team did, Michael. It looks great, makes it very easy to consume and read and kind of glean some of these insights from all this data.
Yeah, and if you Google creator monetization, you'll find it. It'll come up number one in Google.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So how are most video creators specifically making money around their video content?
First, we should talk about a pretty big chunk aren't making any money at all. 26%, which is slightly more than 1 out of 4, are not making any money at all. Does that surprise you?
Okay. Yeah. So this is an important topic.
Yeah. So, it's a pretty big chunk that are hobbyists, I mean, they haven't figured out how to make any money from their video. It's fun, whatever. But then I dug into those that are making money. How are they making money? So, 71% of them, no surprise. What do you think? So, you know what the answer is. It's advertising.
Advertising.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Advertising. And by the way, Tim, it's worth stating that even though 26% are not making any money, 25%, it's their main source of revenue. So if you think about this like a pie chart, 1/4 of the pie, the video work is literally their main source of money. And then another 1/4 of it, they're not making any money at all. And then the big half of it is that messy middle part, where people are trying to figure out whether this is going to become a full-time occupation or a main source of revenue. But yeah, advertising is the number one way.
So the good news of that is, though, it sounds like half number of people who are doing this are making something. Actually, 3/4 are making something.
Absolutely,
right?
Yes.
So 1/4 is not. Another 1/4 is doing this full time, and 50-ish% of these people are at least making something.
Exactly.
On like a hobby level-ish. I'm guessing is that 50%, where it's not living full time, but they're making at least something off of it, which is awesome. So most of these people are just defaulting to advertising, it sounds like, and just kind of taking the passive, whatever AdSense throws my way from YouTube. Is that primarily what it seems like?
Yeah. So there was, I probably should go over the categories real quick. You, me, and others came up with these categories. So advertising, selling your own products, selling your own services, affiliates and commissions, brand deals and sponsorships, Patreon and donations, paid speaking, and content licensing were kind of the main categories. So 71%, when they got a choice to choose all of the options, 71% said advertising. Then the next one down was 36% selling your own products. So that was kind of surprising that, more than 1 out of 3 that are making money are actually selling their own products. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what that might mean for those that aren't doing that.
Yeah, and I want to get into this in more detail here later too, but like that's where I feel like if we could if there was a way, and I know there's not, but if there was a way to break down this data to be like, if people who have 1 million views a month are earning X amount of dollars average through advertising, but they're earning this amount of money through products, their own products that they're selling, I think we would see that product category just totally eclipse the advertising category. Like if you could break down like how much money do I make per subscriber or per viewer?
Right.
The advertising revenue can be great for a lot of people, and it's perfect for a lot of different genres on YouTube. And a lot of creators are doing very, very well with it.
And it's passive, right? You don't have to do anything.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. I take it. It can be a great supplement to your income, but that's how I think of it, as like a supplement, not like the main goal. Because the way advertising works, this is, Michael, but the rest of you guys, like it worked because someone else, another brand, is monetizing your audience better than you are, because they can monetize your audience, people that like that they've never been in front of before. Not only do they monetize it, but they make enough money off of it to give YouTube a cut, to give you a cut, for it to be a small part of the marketing budget overall, right?
Right.
So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with advertising at all, but it's something you should take and just use this as there. But I feel like what if we could just do the thing that they're doing,
right, that
allows them to monetize our audience in a way that they can still split the revenue with all these people and still make a big chunk for themselves. Well, so at the end of the day, the only reason anyone makes money doing anything is because there's people on the other side of these videos who are paying someone. They're either paying you directly as the creator, or they're paying the advertisers who are on your content. So it all comes from them either way.
And for those that don't know me, I have a very large blog and I have a very large podcast in the top 40 in the business category. And we don't take advertising at the podcast or the blog level because we know that that's sending people away, right? So that's the core premise of an ad, is that you're taking someone away from your content. And for us, as we build a business, that did not service our business objectives. So I think there's a natural evolution that the creator goes through, which is they go from being just a creator to someone who is a business person and a creator, and they start thinking about how can I retain the audience? How can I get the audience to become a subscriber of some sort beyond YouTube, maybe to a product or a purchaser? And that is exactly what the advertisers are trying to do. So when you become like the advertiser with your own content, I think that's where the real big money opportunities are, but there's a lot more work there as well.
Yeah, I mean, that model is the model I took, which is like I'll take AdSense and advertising money, but I started very, very quickly with my own product. I started selling, and that's how I was able to go full time on my YouTube channel with only 3,000 subscribers, doing like, I don't know, 50, I think it was like 100,000 views a month, something, really small at that time. And it was because I had this bigger business model wrapped around it. And if you guys want to hear like the exact breakdown of how I did that step by step and how to like make money on YouTube as a small creator, go back to podcast episode number 1 here. That's how I kicked off this podcast here on iTunes. Go back and watch episode number 1. And that's a deep dive into all that. So let's really quick review the top categories, and then let's talk about how creators are maybe thinking about changing their strategy going forward. Number 1 was advertising. Number 2 was product sales and consulting.
Correct. And then product sales, it was 36%. Consulting was 27%. And then affiliates was 25%. Brand deals, 19%. Patreon/donations, 17%. Paid speaking, only 9%. Content licensing, a paltry little 6%.
Sure. So content licensing, for those who might not be familiar, is like when a brand pays me to be able to use my video clips in something that they're doing, one of their projects. So like, for example, just like a month or 2 ago, my wife and I were in a PNC Bank commercial, and they just wanted a snippet of one of our vlogs that we published. And so we licensed that to them for them to use in their television commercial. So that's what licensing is.
Cool.
I would be willing to just kind of parenthetically here in my mind, I'm thinking like there's a lot of creators who do affiliate marketing, and was that number 4 on the list?
Yes,
it was. As total revenue,
25% though, so that's 1 out of 4
who are doing it.
Correct. As far as so the next question was what's the most lucrative form of content? And surprisingly, this is choose one. What's making the most money? Advertising still was number 1 at 46%. The affiliate deal was pretty slow, pretty far down there. Only 4% said it was their single most lucrative deal. It wasn't a big part of it.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, there's 25% of the people who are doing affiliates, but only 44% of them are saying this is a significant moneymaker for me.
Or the most lucrative. Yes, exactly.
Or the most lucrative. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
I think this is how we have to interpret this. I don't think a lot of people are making a lot of money at all, because we're dealing with thousands of creators here. So this is them saying that I'm making the most money off of advertising and then selling my own products. So it is kind of following the same curve, if you will, of the percentages of people that are making the most money. But I think where it starts getting really fascinating is when we scroll down to those that are more mature, and this is a little bit further down, but those that have been doing it longer, do different things than those who are beginners. And we can talk about that later if you want to, but that's near the end of some of the questions you had planned, I think.
Yeah, and we can jump around here too. But I was just wondering, like, how are creators planning on changing their strategy going forward in the next 12 months, given what it is? Is there going to be any shifting happening that you can see from this data?
Well, yes, pretty substantial. The biggest chunk, 65%, said they were going to be selling their own products. So I think that video creators know that they need to sell their own products, and they just don't know how. And that was the standout, which is like literally 2 out of 3 creators are like, okay, I know I need to sell my own products. And then that was followed by brand sponsorship. Surprisingly, 58% said that they want to do more with brand deals and sponsorships. So those were like the 2 standout categories where people wanted to do more than what they're currently doing.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense with the sponsorships because on YouTube, there's a kind of a stigma of like kind of like bragging rights depending on what brands that you have, working with you behind you. You can say, yeah, I've worked with blah 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 blah, this person, that, and you're like, oh, like I wish I could get deals like that. uh which at the end of the day, though, it sounds like people are still making more money selling their own thing rather than selling someone else's thing. If and I that was definitely true for me, but is that kind of what it seems like the data is indicating to you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny because when I'm looking at the data right now, it looks like creators want to pursue a lot of things. Like I'm looking at the numbers here, and like more than half of them want to do more with affiliates, brand deals, advertising, and selling their own products. So like I think that there's this hunger amongst the creator community, which you probably know better than I do. They just know they're not making enough money.
They're like, I'm putting a lot of time and energy and work into this for very little return. Come on, Tim and Mike, help me out here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you guys, and I wasn't planning on doing this, but I think it fits, and I'll be the perfect example for you right now of the type of thing we're talking about. I actually have a product. It's called Turn YouTube into Your Career, and it's a 4.5, 5 hour video course I did out at Adobe's headquarters last year, where we just talked about all these things Michael and I have been talking about so far. Perfect integration. Look at that. I'm my own sponsor right now, right? I didn't even have to go out and land this deal. I can just do it because it's my own product. So you can check it out, videocreators.com if you want. Click on courses and you'll find it. But it goes into all these things like how do you wrap a business model around your channel and your video content? How do you sell things through your channel in a way that doesn't come across as like sleazy or spammy or scammy or whatever? That still establishes trust and credibility. How do you do product ideation, and what's that process for just determining what product your audience is going to respond well to that you can then create, and then how do you integrate that, and how do you sell it, and how do you track everything? All that's a part of that course. So check it out.
A fascinating little topic here is that 55% of video creators have no plans of going after paid speaking, which kind of surprises me, Tim. I don't know if the video creator community knows how lucrative the paid speaking world can actually be. And maybe there's a mindset issue here amongst the creators, which is they're used to speaking to the camera and producing content for free. And maybe they ask themselves, why would anybody ever pay for that? Or maybe there's a little bit of, I don't want to get out in public and speak. I don't know. But this could be an opportunity for video creators, because if you are good at communicating, then people are willing to pay for that at the right kind of an event. What's your thoughts on that?
That's like a whole nother topic we should jump into sometime, like just that category. How to get started? How do you get in front of people who are willing to pay for speaking gigs? Do you have any quick notes on that off the top of your head?
Yeah, what I would do is I would look at the conferences in the niche that you're in. Okay, everybody's got a niche, right? And I would just start to study those events and find out whether or not they're looking for a speaker and if they have a budget. Some events, especially the smaller ones, they do pay for higher profile individuals. And if you happen to have a decent following and you're kind of the dude or the gal in your world, this could be a very lucrative opportunity. I mean, it's not uncommon for people to get paid $5,000 to $20,000 to go give a speech, and we're talking about the same speech you could give over and over again. Now, it needs to be really well done and professional and all that stuff, but who better than a video creator who is speaking all the time than to deliver that craft from the stage,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So how things changed over like the last 12 months? We've kind of talked about going forward, but in the past there's been like those AdSense fallout and AdSense boycott stuff and everything. Has that made an impact?
Here's what we know. We know that we asked the question, are you making more or less than you were 12 months ago? And surprisingly, 47% said they're making more. And 38% said they're the same. So there is that's good news, right?
Yeah, that's almost everybody. Not everybody, but almost
everybody. Only 15% said they're not making more. So there is this sense that we're making more. We didn't ask them, are you making more with each of these categories? We just asked them if you're making more overall. My general sense is that the AdSense revenue is starting to go down, and maybe that's why people are pursuing these alternative sources of revenue and are increasing their overall revenue.
Yeah. Good. So are they happy with what they're making overall?
This is the shocking part. No, they're not. But
is anyone ever like completely satisfied with like, you know what? No more. I'm fine.
Well, here's the funny thing. Only 19% said they were satisfied with what they're making. Shockingly, 66%, which is literally 2 out of 3, said they are not happy. And some said they were really not happy with the amount of revenue that they're making. So I get the sense that while they're making more than they made a year ago, it's not enough. And I don't know if this is like this kid story that I read my kids, The Bear Wants More, which is about this bear that wakes up from hibernation and eats everything. But I get the sense that, and this is universal across all creators, that none of them are satisfied with the amount of money that they're making. And I don't know. What's your thoughts on this, Tim?
I mean, I don't know if anyone's like really ever satisfied. I think there's a sustainability part, like number,
right,
where like, okay, I'm making enough to sustain this.
Right.
But I think greed is a real thing. I think discontentment is a real thing. I think, studies shown outside this study that like the more money you make does not equate more happiness, more security. In fact, it usually goes the opposite. The more you make, the more insecure you feel, the more fearful you are about losing it. And you're more likely to have security cameras up around your house and things like that. So it doesn't necessarily lead to a higher quality of life, although I think that's kind of what we all believe and think is going to be true. So, well, personally,
I think you get to a point though. I'm sure. Yeah, I think this represents a legitimate problem in the YouTube and the video creator community, which is that they're probably not making enough to go off on their own. We talked about earlier. There's only 25% that it's their main source of revenue. So this kind of makes sense, right? 50% are making some money and 25% aren't making any money at all. So I think there's a real need in the creator community for them to understand how to figure out how to make some money out of this so that they could pour themselves into this and really make it even bigger.
Yeah, and my feeling is that those who are making money at this and doing well at it are probably people who have more of like an entrepreneurial spirit, who are willing to go out, kill it, drag it home, make it work, as opposed to the people who and again, there's nothing wrong with this. There's just different levels of opportunity. If you're just going to create content, put it on YouTube, and just passively take whatever the AdSense check is that comes in.
Correct.
So I think those people who are going after it from a business perspective and not just a content audience development perspective are probably the ones who are earning more than those who aren't.
Correct.
So overall untapped opportunity here, according to the data, what do you feel like it is as far as here's the big source?
Yeah, we asked everybody, what do you want to learn more about? Because that kind of is an indicator of what, where the industry is kind of heading. And number one was brand deals and sponsorships, 62%. So I think that a lot of creators are looking at other creators that are doing these brand deals and are saying, I want me some of that. And like you mentioned earlier, part of it could just be they want that name brand recognition. Closely behind it is selling your own products at 59%. So I think that the creator community is beginning to shift into wanting to figure out how to make a product. And that could be a course. It could be an ebook. What else could it be, Tim?
Oh man, in my course I talk about lots of different ideas. I can't think of the whole list off the top of my head, but yes, there's digital products such as like educational ones. It's just kind of like on the digital product side. A lot of people think, well, that makes sense for you, Tim, or you, Michael, because like you guys are like information products. You're an educational type of creator, right? I'm an entertainment creator. I'm doing gaming, or I'm doing vlogging, or I'm doing something where like it's just more of an entertainment story-based narrative type content. How does that work for me?
Sell physical products, sell baseball caps, T-shirts, board games, private label products. I know creators that are in the health space and they private label health food, and they make a killing because their community wants to buy something from them that's their own product. Yeah,
the way I think about it, kind of I hate calling things formulas because that's just not right. But like the structure I think of is there's two things you need to know. One, who is the target audience you're going after? And then two, what is the value that you propose to deliver to them through your content? So who's already consuming your content and why do they love it? So the target audience, value proposition, those are the two things. And then once you figure out who they are and why they love your content, what value they're getting from you, then you just need to like figure out, how do I take 10x that value and sell it in a format people are willing to pay for? So for example, like you're listening to Michael and I talk right now for free to you about untapped opportunities for making money on YouTube. And I just told you though, but I have like 10x that value in like a full-blown video course that's going to walk you step by step through how you can actually do this, right? So that's like a good example. Now, not everyone has like educational stuff. So like if you're like vlogging, for example, let's say your target audience, I'll use me as an example. Let's say on our family's vlogging channel, let's say we are going after those young moms who feel like they're struggling with one or two kids. Their kids are 3 years old or younger. Their husband's at work all day. They're home alone now for the first time in many years. They just got out of college, or they have an active social life. And now they just feel overwhelmed with this thing that poops and throws up everywhere, and they're tired and stressed all the time. And they're watching our videos because they're like, how do they do it with 6 kids, number 7 on the way here in December? How are they doing it? And so they're looking to us just for like ideas. And so we're not coming out in an educational sense by saying tip number 1, clean up diapers this way. Instead, let's just tell them a story about what this looks like in our family and hopefully encourage them in some way. And so for us, sometimes that means like, so we have chore charts for our kids. This is how we maintain our sanity.
That could be a product you could sell, right?
Absolutely. And so people actually asking for that in the comments on YouTube, like, can you make that available? I want that, right? Or we do scripture memorization, Bible memorization with our kids. So we have those just on the walls behind us. We're not like, it's not like a big push or anything, but sometimes that's part of our story. And so then parents are like, we want those sheets to hang up on our walls and youth our kids. Can you make those available? Absolutely. $4.99. You can download the PDF.
There you go.
So
or
like just
meal plans, right? I've heard of food bloggers having meal plans that they sell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is just kind of here's a week-long plan, and here's all the supplies that you need to buy, and they sell them for like $5 or something. And people buy them like crazy.
Yeah. So just what's the value of someone watching? Why are they watching you? And then how do you sell that value? That's really what it comes down to. So anything else you want to say about that? Any other untapped opportunities?
No. I mean, there's a lot. We already talked about the paid speaking. I think the consulting and the services side of it is something we probably should talk about briefly. You could sell your time. Like in your case, Tim, you and your wife have figured out how to manage a household. You guys could have a mastermind group that you charged money for, where you bring a bunch of families together once a month and you guys just talk through your challenges, or you could sell some of your time to consult with families. I remember when my wife was pregnant, we went to this birthing class, and there was this gal in there that taught the class who was a doula. We didn't even know what a doula was, but we ended up hiring this woman to help be there with us when the baby was born. And that's kind of consulting services. You just got to think a little creatively out of the box. And a lot of these services can be done remotely, using the internet. And that's definitely an untapped opportunity. Yeah.
So one of the things I was most interested in from this report is the different ways that an experienced YouTube creator monetizes their audience versus a new creator. What are some of those big differences between those two groups of creators and how they make money?
Well, here's the funny thing. So those that have been doing it for less than 12 months, they're obviously doing the advertising, they're all doing advertising. Okay, whether they've been doing it for 5 or more years or they're 12 months. But the thing that was uniquely different was that the very experienced creators were selling consulting services. 52% of them were selling consulting services. And these are the kind of services that you can charge extreme premiums for. Because if you are the top person in your space and you're, in your case, in your family's case, people look to you for how to organize large families or whatever, there could be a really nice service package that you could put together, and that's a premium kind of thing. You're not seeing that at the beginning level. Those that are just getting started are interested in really selling their own products and advertising, but those that are really experienced are still doing advertising, but they're subbing out the consulting and the services. And this is where it gets really fascinating. They're making the most money on the consulting and services So those that have been at this for 5 or more years, they've listed consulting as the number one single largest source of revenue. Where the beginning folks, it's all advertising. So this comes back to what we talked about earlier: is do not underestimate the value of selling a service. And if we explore what a service really means, it's just something that you cannot. It's not a physical thing. It's not even an ebook. It's really based on the value and the knowledge that you have in your head, and people willing to pay a premium to be able to get access to that knowledge.
Would you say that there's it makes sense that the new people are just doing advertising because they don't have enough people yet in their audience who would be willing to pay them for something. Do you feel like there's a certain level at which you can start selling and it's best to start out as advertising, or no, launch with a product in mind, like launch your channel?
Honestly, I think it depends on like where you were at before you decided to become a creator. Like if you were an expert attorney in, video creation stuff, there's no reason to not sell your services right out of the gate. So everybody who becomes a video creator was something before they were a video creator. And if you're strategic about it, there's no reason you couldn't immediately begin offering a service to your community. The downside to offering a service is it takes your time. And that's not highly scalable. But I would think at the beginning of your venture, that actually is probably a lot less work than building a product. Because Tim, you know how much work goes into building a product. It's
always more than you think it is. Every time I do it, it's like why am I doing this again? I forgot how. It's like you forget and then you do it again. You're like, oh, never again.
But selling your time is super easy. I mean, it's just say, hey, I've got 5 slots available, and this is how much they're going to be, and this is what we have. Sign up if you want it. Those things sell, believe it or not, a lot easier than selling the product because they're buying you, the creator. They're not buying something you've created. They're actually buying you. So my advice to new creators is to actually start getting on the service side of this earlier.
Yeah. And the good thing about that, because I started doing that even before I had a product, that was what I was doing. And the valuable thing that I discovered is that I'm actually getting an opportunity to hang out with my target audience and actually get paid to hear their needs, hear their struggles, hear their questions, hear those commonly asked things that they're bringing up over and over and over again, so that when I do make the product, it's going to be a much better product because I'm more intimately in tune with my target audience and working with them because of the consulting side of things. Yeah. So this report was not just video creators, though. We mentioned it had bloggers and podcasters in it as well. What are some of those things that you feel like video creators can learn from creators in those other niches that they've already figured out and maybe we're trying to catch up on?
I would first of all, take a look at this. It's just free. It's a blog article. I would study it and just kind of look at what are the bloggers doing and what are the podcasters doing, because I think that we get very myopic and we just look at what people are doing in our little world. And I think it's useful to like expand that world and realize that we're all creators, whether we're podcasters or bloggers or video creators, and we can learn from each other. Because maybe just because no one's doing it in the video world doesn't mean that you couldn't steal it from the blogging world. You know what I mean?
Right.
So just kind of watch what these other creators are doing and look for sources of inspiration, even in your own niche.
Yeah. And one of those best podcasts you could listen to for inspiration would be, this is my low ball to you right here.
The Social Media Marketing Podcast.
Yeah. Every week, right? You have a new episode?
Yeah. Every week. Okay. So the Social Media Marketing Podcast is really, if you want to understand the marketing side of this, right? Which is, how do you get a bigger audience? How do you become more known? How do you leverage the social side of this to actually not just have subscribers, but to actually have a community that's super easy to interact with? That's what we do on the Social Media Marketing Podcast every week. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary, and we've had, I think, 5.5 million downloads on that podcast. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, awesome. And if you guys really want to learn more, about how to monetize your audience, yes, check out the Social Media Marketing Podcast and check out the blog post that has more data than we shared here. But there's also an event coming up in San Diego this end of March or end of February to March that I will be at. I'm speaking at, and it's called Social Media Marketing World. And tell us a little bit about that and why video creators creators should consider it.
Yes, and I should say, actually 12 million downloads on my podcast. I had the numbers wrong. Sounds better. But anyways, yeah, so social media marketing world, simple story here is that I was a creator, a blogger, and a podcaster. And for the longest time, everybody said we want a place to come to meet and to hobnob and connect and learn. So I launched 5 years ago, Social Media Marketing World, and we're coming up on our 6th anniversary. And something exciting, it's in San Diego, by the way, but something exciting that we're doing for the first time is we've got a creator ticket for Social Media Marketing World. So the conference is really, the creator ticket is all the bloggers and podcasters and YouTubers and live video creators coming together under one kind of roof, if you will, to learn how to grow an audience and how to make money and how to build a business with it. We've got a lot of very high profile creators that are across all these different genres, and it's an amazing experience. And the creator ticket is substantially less expensive than the full conference ticket. So if you are a creator and you're struggling, and you can relate to some of what we're talking about today, which is how in the world do I build a business on the back of my content? This is really what Social Media Marketing World was designed, this particular part of it designed for.
Yeah, you guys can find out more information at socialmediaexaminer.com about that event. If you want to see the agenda and the lineup and the presentations and the speakers and the networking opportunities, he does a really, really good job. Him and his team do an excellent job at making this a premier event.
Oh, and one important thing I should mention is that we bring a lot of businesses to the conference and a lot of creators to the conference, and that is kind of a secret sauce kind of thing that a lot of people don't realize. A lot of high-profile creators come here and they walk away with brand deals because there's a lot of big businesses that are on the social media side of it and are looking for the influencers. And we actually facilitate that in this big space called the Networking Plaza. And we allow the creators and the brands to come together and to meet each other. So that is another reason to consider going.
Yeah, a lot of Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies are represented here at this event. And you get to actually get in front of them, shake hands, meet them, and do a much more intimate pitch, and not really a pitch, but just develop a relationship, start that with these people rather than just kind of coming off right off the bat like, hi, I'm Tim, here's my media deck, I have 1 million subscribers and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, whoa, wait, what? So it's a good opportunity to meet those people. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from you guys about your feedback about all this and the different things that have stood out to you and the different ways that you're monetizing your audience, making it financially sustainable for everyone. You can tweet me at Tim Schmoyer, or where can they get in touch with you, Michael, on Twitter?
Mike_Stelzner, STELZNER.
We'll put a link to that in the show notes or the description below here. You guys can go check that out. And all the other links and things we talked about, those will all be accessible down in the description of this video on YouTube or in the show notes of this podcast here on iTunes. So thank you guys for hanging out. Subscribe if it's your first time here, because every Tuesday we have new episodes just to help you guys learn how to grow your YouTube audience, how to reach them, impact their lives, and in this case, how to make all that sustainable by earning money around your content. So thank you guys for letting Michael and I be a small part of that, and we will see you guys again next week. Bye.